Namaste, my name is Ruchita Green. I come from a little place called Pune near Mumbai. It's in the state of Maharashtra. India has a lot of states. I've lost count now how many. But Pune, when I was growing up, was very much a sort of tranquil escape for people who were living busy lives in Mumbai. Mumbai was a big cosmopolitan city. And it was, hot and humid and so many people doing lots of little jobs. But Pune was like their escape. It was the cooler, calmer, greener city of bicycles that people used to come to. It was always known as the city of bicycles because there were more bicycles on the roads than cars, and everyone was naturally very pro environment and things like that. Even now, there's greenery everywhere. You'll see high-rise buildings, but within that you have these pockets of greenery everywhere. At the moment, my parents live in a tall building that is about 8 or 9 stories high, and theirs is on the 8th floor. So when you look out, there's hills on one side and there's concrete jungle on the other, but in the middle there are these little trees, which just makes it look fabulous. And I have a strong connection to Pune even now. So that's where I come from. As a child, I remember spending a lot of time at my grandparents' house, which was in sort of the inner city. Now, Pune has a massive history in terms of the local old royalty, and the king, as he was, Shivaji Maharaj, the one whom Mumbai Terminal is named after. The Mumbai International Terminal is called Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. And him and his family basically reigned for about 600 or 700 years. That may be wrong, you might want to fact check that, but it was a considerable amount of time. And he himself became king or Maharaj when he was 14, I think. But he was known as one of the best ever Maharajas that area had, and in general in India he's revered as one of those people. Did a lot of lovely things for the people there, and he's established a lot of the culture that exists within the people of Pune. So they are very proud, they're very respectful of each other and of nature and of their elders. Mums are always held in a very high regard, because Shivaji held his mum in a very high regard. And so the old city has his old residence there and his old palace, and that still plays host to this annual festival, which basically celebrates his life. So every year they'll have a huge 5 or 6 day festival that has song and music and dance and dramatics. So his story coming to life, basically.
What's
So
that festival called?
I'll have to find out. I think it's called Zanta Raja. Zanta Raja is a king who knows his people. That's the gist of it, and how he was very much a people's king. So for me, childhood is about walking through those old streets and seeing the old stone buildings, and going to the old massive market there to shop for vegetables and stuff like that. It is still one of the biggest markets, fruit and vegetable markets in Asia, and it's phenomenal. Came across something on Instagram the other day, a feed about Pune, and it's taken this aerial shot at night time of this market, and it just looks spectacular. If you want to look it up, it's called Punekar, Punekar, and that'll give you an idea as to what I'm talking about, because it's huge. It's a sprawling market. It starts off with fresh fruit and vegetables, then you've got this humongous flower market, and then sort of as it keeps going and going and going, you've got steel merchants and glass merchants and all sorts of things. You could get lost in there forever. My aunt actually still goes every, I don't know which morning, but every week, once a week, she goes there at 6 o'clock in the morning to buy fresh flowers. And every festival day, you are bound to see heaps and heaps of marigolds just sitting there waiting for people to pick them up. It's just beautiful. Marigolds in particular, I don't know why, because they're meant to be auspicious. So all weddings will have marigold flowers, garlands. Whenever people welcome people with a garland, it's invariably a marigold flower garland. Um, I remember during Diwali sitting with my grandma and making up these marigold garlands. They'd have like a leaf from a mango tree alternated with one marigold, and that's what we'd hang at the entrance of each door. That's what we'd hang at the entrance of each door, almost as a sign of welcoming people in. And that is one of my distinct memories, actually, as a child, because that was one of those things that you could get a child to do. You know, here you are, string these flowers,
Yeah.
and that was really nice. Yeah.
Tell us about a typical school day.
Typical school day. Well, I went to 2 different schools. I didn't go to nursery myself, but my sister did, and I'll tell you that about that in a sec. But when I started school, I would have been about 4 years old. My first school was run by Christian missionaries, so there were sisters who'd come from Switzerland. The principal, although it was established by one big entrepreneur of the area, because when I was little, we lived in this massive industrial area where my dad had a factory. So I didn't have any neighbours, no children around me. It was just the children of the factory workers that were there. It was a massive compound, lots of place to play, but nobody there to play with. And we were surrounded by other big factories. So school was not massively far away, I'd say about 2 miles. And because my dad had a factory, he had loads of people on hand to take us to school. And it was always a bit Russian roulette, you know, what vehicle was going to turn up to pick us up from school today. So one day there'd be this massive lorry which had just a front sitting compartment and this huge trailer at the back of it. And either we're riding up in the front or in the back of the trailer. One day it'll be a little man on a bicycle because that's the only person they could find to pick us up. Another day it could be, you know, my mum or dad come to pick us up in the car. But it was always sitting there in line, because you'd have these. It was so funny because you had the teachers at the end of the day, like you would in schools here as well, line them up. You know, who's going by bus, who's going by car, who's walking home, kind of thing. And all the children who went to this school came from different colonies, they call them, that were made up of people, so sort of factory workers. They had this big company called, our school was called Kamal Nayan Bajaj, and that was named after, I think, the mother of the guy who'd built it. But Bajaj Auto was this huge automotive factory in the region where we lived, and there would be a Bajaj Auto colony. So all the people who lived there, their children went to Bajaj Auto colony. All the people who lived at HDFC Bank colony would go to HDFC Bank, kind of thing. And so we'd have these rows and rows of children sitting down. You know, Aga, you go there. Aga was another company. So all the kids from Aga would board that bus and go off. All the kids for HDFC would board that bus and go off. And we're there waiting, thinking, no idea where we're going today. It's just... My sister and I would be sitting on the steps thinking, yeah, not sure who's coming. Probably won't recognise the vehicle until the man actually steps out and says, oh yeah, I'm here. So the teachers knew that that's what would happen. But just to backtrack a little bit, the school was extremely strict. I mean, extremely strict. We had the cane. We had very strict punishments. PE, gosh, I hated PE. Absolutely hated it. Because when I was first growing up, for the majority of my school time in that school, we had a sir who was very, very strict. And it was, I don't know if you want to edit this next bit out, but we had this very strict uniform code, and bloomers were part of it. And you had to get this specific... Yeah. We had a skirt, like a pinafore kind of thing, but you had to wear bloomers underneath it. And they had to be blue. They couldn't be any other colour.